And welcome to another fantastic edition of the D's channel. Here I am in a skip, just about to cut a tile with my brand new Makita cordless angle grinder. What an amazing little piece of kit. I really enjoyed using this. It was so much easier than all the wires and all that stuff. Today, however, our main subject is going to be this first person view tiling, because it's a video that I haven't done and I believe it's a video that needs to be done, so that you guys, my subscribers and people who are interested in this channel, can actually see, let's say, as close to the mark how tiling is done in a professional manner. So for instance, the cutting of this tile, as you can probably see, with this particular view you can see a lot more of how much stuff is being thrown at me while I'm cutting it, how noisy it is, and what protection you need. I mean, I'm using gloves, decent glasses, shatterproof, and ear defenders, so that basically whatever happens, I shouldn't be, let's say, fatally wounded, or lose an eye, or lose my hearing. And you never know, a glove might save me from some damage, but it depends exactly what happens. Thankfully, in this episode, nothing has happened and everything went smoothly. However, it is imperative that you look after your own safety while you're doing these things, because that is really important. So I'm just going to speed this up a little, because at the end of the day I've shown you how to cut tile, what sort of speed you should be going at, and now we just need to get these few pieces cut and ready to install. And the trick here is to obviously mix up your adhesive. I'm doing this pretty fast. And I only mix up like small amounts at a time. So let's say it's a 25 kilo bag. I will put in about 3.5 liters of water, and I will mix up a quarter of that bag, maybe a third, from a quarter to a third of that bag. And that's simply because I know I can handle so much adhesive and cutting, fitting tiles, because I'm by myself, and I need to judge that. I need to judge that to make sure that what I'm doing is correct. Right, here again I've been using a self-leveling system for tiles, and these are 3mm thick. What they do is they position the tile in the right place, and then you use these wedges, which I'll show you afterwards, to actually clip the tile, and that stops the tile from deviating while you're putting it on the wall. And that's how you get your really nice, smooth, level tiles. You may have seen some people, and they tile a room and the tiles are all over the place, and you can feel all the lips on them and everything. This system here stops that from happening, as long as you use enough adhesive. And you need to do two things. You need to put adhesive on the wall, And you also need to what's called butter the back of the tile with adhesive, depending on how much your wall is off, or maybe it's a little bit out, but you can always just whack on some adhesive and build it out so that this leveling system works. Now you can see I'm holding up quite a bit of adhesive here, and I just push it onto the wall that I want to fit the tile to. Obviously I've speeded this up so that you're not running through hours of footage, but I hope you get the general idea. You just get that adhesive on there and then run your trowel through it so that you create the grooves in the adhesive, so that when you put your tile on, the air gaps disappear and then the tile becomes really well stuck to the wall. So that's what the air gaps for the trowel is. And now we go to the next phase, which is basically buttering up that tile. You can see here that I'm resting the main tile on the bucket of adhesive that's not actually on the bath, because I am, well, mortally afraid of damaging a bath after doing all the hard work of leveling it up and then tiling from the bath up onto the walls. So don't rest your stuff on the bath sides, even though the plastic coating is still per se stuck to the bath. So you can see how easy that tile went in. That's got the very thin set of adhesive on the back of the tile, and then the troweled adhesive on the wall. And as you can see now, I'm also putting in that leveling system, which will keep all my tiles level as they go up. And this is also the reason why I did all the cuts in the first place down in the skip. Simply so I'm not running up and down stairs doing one cut at a time. You'll always find it easier if you can do 4 or 5 cuts at a time if you're working by yourself, that your adhesive will stay fluid while you're putting the tile on the wall. Just positioning that. Just going to show you how to position this section and then add the wedges to level the tiles on the wall. And there is a lot of, because it's the top section, there's obviously a bit of jumping around from floor to adhesive bucket to then wall. But you may as well get sort of the gist in realish time of how long it takes. I think one of the biggest secrets of tiling is precision. And if you spend your time doing it and get it right, it will look great. And you can walk away from it. You can walk away after your job's done, and that's it. That's the nice part of it. So I'm just checking that last piece because it was obviously a piece where I calculated the size. I couldn't actually take the absolute size, but I'm happy enough with that. I'm probably putting a little bit of extra adhesive as the back part of that wall just dipped in a tiny bit from plumb. So my trick is to add that little bit of extra adhesive on it, and that allows me to bed it out that little bit more. And then put the system in. But the main thing is to get it as level as possible before you start throwing in wedges. There is actually a tool to put these wedges in. It's a clicker tool, but I didn't have it with me today, so you can just push them in and tighten them up by hand. Obviously the tool pushes them a little harder, but that's not necessarily the best way either. I think the tool cost about £18, so I left it in my lockup, clever me, and hey, instead of going out and buying a new one, I just thought I'll put these in by hand, squeeze them up. Yeah, camera angle is good. This should be slightly better apart from the light coming in the window, which I can't do much about because it's a beautiful sunny day outside. So apologies for the lighting. This is honestly such a small bathroom that I could fit myself and my trowel in here and that was about it. But that's kind of the way that I go about putting tile adhesive on a wall. And you can see I'm not sort of messing around with it or anything else. I'm just throwing it on and then scraping it through with the trowel, getting those nice grooves through it. Once the adhesive's on a wall that has been waterproofed, which is this blue paint, it's a tanking membrane, so it'll stay pretty good for 20 minutes without any major problems, without it drying off too much. But again, you know, the main thing is do what you're comfortable doing, because otherwise that's when you get caught and your adhesive starts drying out, and then you get into a flap and everything becomes problematic. So yeah, just when you're going out a first time, make sure you've got all your tiles ready, all your cuts. This one for me is, these are just big tiles, so yeah, get them buttered up. Butter them up, buttercup. And I've got my little spacers and everything sorted there. Almost. Need to get another pack. Get another pack. Yeah. And more tiles. That's just a quick flip as well to make sure that there's no cracks or broken bits on the tile, that I'm using good tile, because every now and then you'll find that your tile has maybe got a tiny little chip in it, and then you put it on the wall and you go, oh no, and it really hurts taking a tile off and then having to redo the wall, redo the tile, and then you're just wasting a tile, but wasting a lot of time as well. I'm just making sure that that gap in the center is lining up okay. Getting everything right and pushing in those blue edges into the tile leveling system again. And I'm setting those tiles as I go along the wall so that I'm not having to try and set everything at the end when I've put all the tiles up, because the adhesive grabs pretty fast, and you don't want to try and start, you know, messing around with adhesive. Oh, rookie error. I actually forgot to put in my leveling clips, so pop that off and away we go again. Yeah, so got my little clip piece there. Hopefully I have enough light in that corner that you can actually see this properly, because I am trying to show you the best of what I do and the best way to do it. And as you see, I'll quite happily take a tile off if I don't think it's sitting properly, and I'll reapply a little bit of adhesive and pop it back in, because at the end of the day, that's the difference between it looking really good and it looking just okay. So I just wanted to show you this quick kind of clip on cutting a tile on the normal tile cutter. Now this is a small tile cutter. I mean, I think it cost me maybe £90 in Screwfix. It's a ruby. It's really good. Doesn't cut tiles 600 long. I have a bigger tile cutter for that, but it does cut them 300, 400, even 500. But what I found with this is that if you line up the lines, so you mark each side of the tile and then score it, rather than, and then just bang it with your hand while it's on the actual ridge, it will cut cleaner on a porcelain tile than trying to use the brake tool that you have on the actual tile cutter. Usually it splinters. This particular tile is going underneath the bath. So what I'm doing is I'm leaving the 3mm from the top tile. I'm giving that proper distance there. And then I'm marking it through so that I can take a small amount out, and then that tile rests, is basically sat underneath the bath, and it stops the bath from moving if you get it right. Now there is a little bit of a slope from the top of the bath to the bottom of that 40mm piece. I'm going to freehand that, as you can see here, and then I'm going to pop down and cut it with the grinder. So I've cut that. I've got all my stuff in place. You can see that it's an absolutely perfect fit. And this time I'm going to bed out the adhesive on the actual tile, because I'm only putting one tile in, so there's no point in trying to scrape the adhesive up the wall and then so I've bedded out the adhesive on the tile, and now I'm actually just putting the adhesive, I'm buttering the wall with the adhesive. Which is basically easier in this particular instance, because I'm behind pipes and stuff and I'm not going to get a trowel in there easier. And that little trick is going to save you a lot of time. Because I'm getting into awkward places here. Underneath the bath, around pipes, all that sort of stuff. And it's actually easier to do it this way than it is to do it any other way that I've done it before. So I hope that little tip helps you out there. I'd be absolutely amazed if you're still watching after all this time. All I'm doing now at the moment is I'm just propping the tile up with a couple of cut pieces, because if you think about it, all it has to do is sit into position and be squeezed up against the spacers, and the two wedges and the leveling system will also hold it in place. So here's another little example of the brake. You see that, just score and give it a go punch. Again, I apologize for this darkness in this corner, but light is just streaming through the window. And again, because small section of wall, I'm actually going to put the main body of adhesive onto the back of the tile. So the tile leveling system I'm using is just from Simply Tiles. It's not a cheap system, but it's cheaper than, say, a Ruby or one of the other better known makes, although I would say the Ruby is a little more fancy. They all work in the same way, and this is more of a floor tiling system. However, it works great on walls because basically you have the strength in the product to really pull that tile into place if you need to. Whereas the, let's say the wall tiling systems, the parts can snap as you're trying to tighten up the wedges. So that can kind of go against you. Just putting up this last tile, and then that's pretty much going to be it for me. If you've watched this long, like I said, I'm amazed. But if you want to learn how to tile, this is pretty much it. You just have to learn how to mix up the adhesive. You don't want it too sloppy. You want it a nice consistency that you can work with it without it falling off the trowel, and it's not running down your wall as soon as you put it on. Almost like thick custard. Yeah. And another important part is obviously the level. I'm just making sure that that edge is tile level, so that when I put the trim on, that I've got my levels right for the trim. And that, I'm just checking that when I go across the top of the window, that my tiles are going to be level running across the top. So thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, just hit that like button, maybe throw in a comment, and certainly subscribe, because I think in the next sort of few months my videos are going to get better. Have yourself a great time, and I shall see you in the next one. Thanks.